What's up, y'all? This is Neena Perez, and this is Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. Thank you so much for being here. You know that we are here to grow, challenge, and transform your thinking. Now, you know I go around the planet trying to find the best humans on it. I found one. I found one for you. His name is Neo, and he's a longtime avid student of the law of attraction. And being born and raised in the poorest and most dangerous city in America, to retired from the police department, Neo knows firsthand how to alter your life's current trajectory and your average daily mindset. Now, you guys know that this is what we talk a lot about here is about your mindset and how to move forward in life and expand the way you think. So, Neo, thank you for being here, my brother. How are you?
Life is great, and thank you, Neena, for having me, and thank you, everyone who's out there listening.
Yes, I have a really great audience, Neil. One thing I love about the people that listen to my show is that they're very interactive. So I get them a lot, a lot of DMs, a lot of emails. They follow the people that are on the show. And I've cultivated that in the last 5 years, right? So it's been a lot of work, but these people are amazing. I call them straight talkers because that's what they are. And so give it to us, Neil. I want to know a little bit more about you. So who are you, Neil?
Man, I'm just another person out here trying to maneuver my way, through life. I just so happened to stumble upon a little something that totally changed my trajectory. And obviously that's the law of attraction. So born and raised in what was at the time the poorest and most dangerous city in America, Camden City, New Jersey. You know how it is.
It really was.
You
It
know,
really was.
the hood is the hood. It puts certain mentalities on you, certain beliefs on you. You're never going to make it out. Most of my family and friends are still in Camden or Camden County. Heck, I didn't make it out of Camden County until 3 years ago when I was 38.
Wow.
It makes you feel stuck, but
Yeah.
expanding your mind expands the life,
It really, really does. And it's funny because I have family in Camden. I haven't seen them in eons, but we were actually supposed to move to Camden before I was even born. So it's funny, right? Like how life kind of takes you through these roads. I was also born and raised in the projects out here in Connecticut, but I remember Camden being like one of the most dangerous towns when I was a kid because we used to go visit family. So I'm with you. I know. I know. But you're right about the mind, right? Because it really, I mean, was it Mandela that said, right, that they can put him in prison, but the prison won't be in him, right? So it was his
Mm-hmm.
mindset that kept him free regardless, right? So tell me a little bit about being raised and why you said, sometimes you can be stuck there. Tell me a little bit about that growing up.
Well, when the people you look up to can't make it out, and you aspire to be like them, then your biggest goal is to maybe make it out, let alone make it out of the hood and be successful or build any kind of life or leave a legacy for you and your family or however big you decide to dream. So right there, that limiting belief, it's like mental torture. They say that if you have a dog that's kept in a cage most of its life and you put him in a 3-foot fence, he won't ever try to jump over it. And it's kind of like that mentality, but it just wasn't it for me. Most of the people I grew up with accepted it, and I don't see how they did. I couldn't.
Right.
Something in me was screaming, "No! Like what? This is the
Right.
furthest I'll make it." I see people on TV doing all kind of stuff I want to do, and so that was me. That was my drive, and that obviously led to me manifesting the law of attraction into my life, and then the ability to wield it like a Harry Potter wand.
Oh, that's good, right? Because that
Yeah,
is not an overnight thing. That takes a lot of work and discipline, right?
a
So,
ton.
what do you think that was in you already, Neil? You think that
Yes.
that innate ability was already in you to want to be out, or was that something, or did something happen and that, like, woke you up to it?
I would answer, if you'd asked me that question 20 years ago, I would say my father was the drive for that because as soon as we got to the hood, he wanted out. And he
Mm-hmm.
was always pushing with everything he did to get out, including becoming a cop in that town
Oh,
because they paid a lot of money, which would be able to get us out. Like, who
right,
would volunteer to do that besides me and him? But
right.
yeah, so it's like watching him. But when I look at my life after that, like in high school in football, I used to just stare at the football field before the game for like an hour. I would just stand out there and stare. All right, 10-yard in, 15-yard curl around, touchdown, start over, 5-yard up. I was visualizing
Mm-hmm.
But what I would now call visualization technique, I was doing that before. Mix that with confidence and not letting the doors that slam on me, not letting the nose win. That was always a part of me. So
Oh,
as much
that's
as I want to
good.
give my dad credit on the external, I got to give him credit on the internal, the DNA.
Right, that's good. So talk to me a little bit about what you just said, because I'm assuming that's all law of attraction, right? Visualizing, having the positivity, and going after it. So for those of us who don't know all about the power of law of attraction, tell us a little bit about that. How did you start getting into that?
Well, I was a police officer in Camden, New Jersey, and my old partner was a retired CIA agent. And he told me about this movie that they make everyone watch in the academy. And I'm expecting, some, SWAT team type. 'Cause I was on a SWAT team. I got a tattoo. A SWAT team type movie, and it wasn't. It was a movie called The Secret.
The secret, yeah.
And let's see, you're familiar with it, and I'm assuming the listeners are too. And as much as I'm thinking, what the heck does this have to do with chasing bad guys? I was done. I was sold. It connected so many dots, like standing on the football field before every game, just staring off, driving in my car without the radio on and never even noticing, because I'm okay. I want to be with my thoughts. I used to sit on the roof of my house and just stare off for hours, and I didn't know why. And there was a lot of trees, so no one could really see it. But it put so many pieces together from my past. In addition to those that I just named, you had the million scenarios where I failed and where I expected to fail. And in the weeks leading up to that test or whatever, I knew I was going to fail, even though I tried and studied. In my mind, it was there. And all the good things, I knew I would win. I knew I would pass. I knew I would this. So it lined up everything. I immediately knew it was true and decided I had to study as much as I could about this. And I went straight to YouTube. Oprah Winfrey said it was just a cherry on top of the cake. And I said, ooh, then what's the icing?
Right.
What's the
Right.
jimmies? What's the
What's the
sprinkles?
cake? Right.
That led to The
Right.
Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle and Untethered Soul and The Science to Getting Rich. And, I'm not a big reader, but audiobooks are everything, and just grabbing this information, it totally transformed me into a law of attraction wielding beast, to the point where I actually retired 8 months later.
Okay.
And since then, I've been literally touring the country, just teaching people how I use the law of attraction and how I've learned to use the law of attraction. Because I was in 08. I was in 2008, 14 years ago. In the past 14 years, I've interviewed everybody I've even heard say they thought about the law of attraction. I say, ooh, what do you do during the day? What do you do when
Right.
I grill people? I learn from
Right.
everybody. If they say they know about it, I want to know what you know. And I kind of cataloged it into my website, neopositivity.com, all the best exercises that work for everybody, no matter who you are, tall, short, old, young, race, religion, doesn't matter. And I throw summits where I'm just, instead of interviewing one person at a time, interviewing 6 people at a time. And we're just bouncing ideas off each other. So my whole life has just been dedicated to law of attraction because of how powerful it's been. And specifically all the toys and fun times it's gotten me since I learned it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what has how did you start? Like how does somebody who doesn't know, right? And for those of these people who are listening, it's about 30,000 downloads, so somebody listening, right? So what how do you get started? What is like 101?
As much as I love The Secret, it is just a cherry on top of the cake. And they do say the same thing over and over again for an hour. So that's why I tell people, just watch the first 20 minutes of that if you're going to watch it. And The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle is an amazing book, but it only covers the moment, the now. So honestly, my thing would be the stuff I've put together. Neopositivity, yes, it became a show name, but it originally was a philosophy. It was all these different practices put into one. And so if you want to get started, I would say go there. I was telling you just before we started, I'm doing reels on Instagram now. I put out like 2, 3 a day on just different aspects and different angles of the law of attraction, because there's so much. I've taught 4-hour courses and haven't even really scratched the surface on what it would take to learn everything. So, and another thing is this, I wouldn't suggest anyone take the route I took. The route I took 14 years to get to where I'm at, where I am. Nobody wants to take 14 years worth of studying. Just go to my website, find some stuff. You want to get started right now, you're going to have to wrap your head around it. and see it as real. If you don't do that, you're not going to stick with it. You're not going to learn new stuff about it. And, practice makes perfect. So I would say fear your negative thoughts, because fear will make someone change. I can tell you not to go down that alleyway all day long, but if I tell you somebody got robbed down there, guess what? You can find a new way home.
Right.
So when you feel that fear, like, oh, wow, this thought I'm having is taking food off my plate, money off my table. That's how I see it. And I've adapted my mind to think that way, so that as soon as I start a negative scenario, it'll either end it for me before I even realize that it did it.
Right.
Or 2-3 seconds in, I'll be like, whoa, this ain't serving me. This type of mentality, this thought right here ain't serving me. It's creating a messed up future for me. So I would try to key in on that. Recognize the feeling of what you don't like and wake up to it. And then once you wake up to it, you take in the moment, you do an affirmation, you do a mental exercise, something like that to follow it up. Practice makes perfect. You got to do this all day long, every day for the rest of your life. Accept it.
I see.
Accept
Okay.
it. Another big part.
Okay. Now, is there a difference between the law of attraction and manifesting? Because I hear people talk about manifesting as well.
No. Manifesting is just a result of using
Okay.
the law of attraction.
Okay. Okay. And now, do you believe in people having to do the work? Do you believe in, or do
Yeah.
you believe that they can manifest it and just sit there and wait for it to come?
It's funny. Me and my boy Elijah Desmond always have this debate. If I choose to go meditate in my chair about getting a free remote control airplane, not just flying it happily, I'm enjoying it, and it was free. And then that airplane shows up on my doorstep, which is exactly how I got started on Facebook. The action of me taking the time out of my day to sit down, quiet the house, and meditate on it, that is an action. Now, that being said, there are some things that require inspired action, is what I call it. When you do focus and do your affirmation and think about it, the universe might whisper to you, call your cousin. And it's like, I haven't talked to her in years. And then you move on, as opposed to calling her and she's now dating some guy who's in the same field as you and can connect you with this person and that person and get what it is you're trying to get. So those are the type of inspired action that you do have to take. For me, in that situation, the inspired action was go sit down, meditate on it. And when it didn't feel good in my chest, change your wording. Keep changing your wording. Keep changing your wording. And when that knot in your chest goes down, kind of turns red, you feel bad. Like if you lie to yourself, you'll feel it go bad down. When you smile and you laugh, it kind of comes up, raises up, turns like blue, white then blue in my mind. And so pay attention to that knot and follow the inspired action. You got to do the inspired action, or else it won't. Chances are you're going to just be in a loop, wondering why it hasn't come.
Where does the inspired action come from?
Anywhere. I mean, where's it come from? Source, God, universe, whatever you believe. But it could be anything. It could be a whisper. Call your cousin. It could, just a thought. The doorbell could ring. Whatever the situation is, there's going to be an action required. And you can either do it and then get your next hint of action. What should I do? Or just don't do it. That's stupid. I'm not going to call her. I haven't talked to her in years. So it's like you got to take the inspired action. And huge part of that, 2021, the biggest lesson I learned was get out of your comfort zone. I was getting offers to go places and speak and all this other stuff that I was like, well, I'm busy and I gotta find a babysitter. I got a 4-year-old. I'm coming up with all these excuses because I've set up a nice, retired, cushy, comfy life. I'm flying all the time, swimming, playing with my son every day. But getting out of your comfort zone, going to a state you've never been in, being in a situation you've never been in, those are the times when I was excelling. I was growing fast. So now I jump at the opportunity to get out of my comfort zone. Just recently, I was in Nashville and my flight home Monday. My flight home was Monday, and Sunday they were telling me to come to Denver. Cancel my flight. I got 2 bags. You want me to go to Denver? I don't have a hotel. I got nothing booked. What are you talking about? It's so out of my comfort zone. And I went, and it was life-changing. It was absolutely life-changing. So that's just an example, but that's part of it too. That inspired action might feel uncomfortable.
And it sounds like the more you practice this, the more you're seeing it actually happening in your life, right?
Practice
Because,
makes perfect.
yeah, because it's like it's either call your cousin, right, from the whisper and not do it. And do you think, or do you know that if you don't start to follow what God, the universe, is telling you, do you think that the whispers get less? Do you think that you don't hear it enough or hear it more? Like, what do you think that disconnect is?
I think you'll hear the amount of whispers that you manifest. So if you expect to get a lot of whispers, you will. If you expect to get a lot of hints from the universe, turn left, whatever, you will. And if you expect it to come not that often, so that's a whole nother form of manifesting right there,
Oh,
as far
okay.
as its frequency.
Okay. So let me ask you a question, because when you first started, you said you knew when you were about to take an exam or a test that you weren't going to pass, right? So my question is, did you not pass because you already put it in your mind that you weren't going to pass, or did you just know because it was a unction in you that you weren't going to pass?
It's funny you bring this up. I've recently discovered that I suffer from imposter syndrome.
Oh, don't we all? Don't we
Wh-
all,
I,
my friend?
I didn't. I never get all these years I've been interviewing people. I didn't learn this until last month, and I've heard the term a million times, but I never thought it applied to me because if I got the A on my report card,
Right.
then I got the A. I'm not an
Right.
imposter. It actually happened. Why can't I enjoy it?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I never thought that applied to me at all. Um, so I'll preface with that. Um, I think, or I think I'm slightly dyslexic. My dad never got me tested,
I
but
am. I get it.
it's yeah, you get it
Hmm.
then. And
Hmm.
I think the first time I tried to read for someone and I saw their face, their disappointment, and then you go to school and everyone's reading so much faster than you, and then they
Yeah.
have this thing called the gifted and talented program to where you have to get all hundreds to get into there, and so you're nowhere near gifted or talented.
Hmm.
And all
Hmm.
these negative narratives that were put into me from like the school system, and not to mention I was basically on punishment from 6th grade into my senior year for missing
You and
homework.
I both.
Yeah, from getting
Right.
C's and D's and missing homework and
Right.
getting, scoring bad on tests. So that narrative was instilled into me immediately. You're going to do bad on school like tests
Hmm. Hmm.
unless it's gym class.
Mm,
I
that's
killed all
powerful.
those.
That's powerful. That's powerful. That's outdated thinking, right, Neil? That's outdated thinking, right? We carry that, and I laughed about the imposter syndrome, but we all struggle with that. And you just laid out like a beautiful scenario of why we all struggle with that. And it's
It's
because
it's stuff like that. My
because
parents.
they think we're all supposed to learn the same. Nobody does.
You know what I also learned? There's things called dendrites. If you picture like grass in the ocean just waving, they're
Hmm.
on the surface of our brain and they grab onto things. That's their job. Where every
Hmm.
now and then two dendrites will connect. They're electronically charged. That's how they grab things. Where every now and then they connect. And this is an example of that. Let's say you're in New York and you're at a hot dog stand. You just got a hot dog. It's juicy. It's delicious. You're about to bite into it, and there's a fender bender happens up the block. You turn around. You look. Oh wow. And you eat your hot dog. 5 years later, you don't even eat hot dogs. It's not that you don't like the flavor. Those dendrites connected and they never disconnected.
Mm,
And it put a negative connotation on eating hot dogs. Neurofeedback is a way to get rid of that. And
yeah.
if neurofeedback can get rid of that, then I can manifest them disconnecting. But that's the
Mm,
connect right there. I
hmm.
can't celebrate my grades because they'll never be good enough. I'm not in a
Right.
gifted, talented program. And
Right.
that's where it is. And for me, it attached to everything: retirement, flipping or selling houses, all my getting my pilot's license, landing this contract. I got 3 contracts right here hanging up on the wall. It's like I can't celebrate any of them because it's just never good enough to me.
Hmm.
And I'm breaking out of those old narratives because once
That's
I
good.
am able to celebrate them, I'm taking this whole law of attraction thing to the next
Right.
level. That's the
Right.
only thing that's been holding me back is my own limiting beliefs, and I'm
Right.
knocking them out.
And those are a real thing, and I'm glad you mentioned that, right? Because I think that what people see with with amazing humans like yourself, right, Neil? So you're out there, you're doing what you have to do, you're impacting lives, you're putting out really great stuff. I mean, that's why I asked you to be here, because I love everything about you, your energy, what you're putting out there, the whole thing, right? And it's also very real. You're also being very real, right? That everybody has that wall, that glass ceiling that they're trying to break. And they do for some, at some time they do, and then there's another glass wall, right? And that's life. I think that's life, right?
Yeah.
That life is getting to that next level of who you want to be and who you want to impact, right? That's why I always tell people, even if you move 1%, you are so further along than you were yesterday when you weren't at that 1%, you know? So I have a question for you. How does Neil deal with not a good time, not a good scenario in your life, something hard that's happening, something that you're struggling with, whether it's a passing of someone you love, or a contract that fell through, or something like that? What do you do to get yourself back on track with your thoughts? Do you have a routine? Do you have something you check yourself with? What do you do?
My foundation is the whole fear. You,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I fear my negative thoughts. So no matter the situation, I know that every second I spend there, it's
Mm-hmm.
taking money off my table. And I like my
Mm-hmm.
money.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever it is I gotta do up here, I need to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Family member in a hospital or something like that is a lot harder because it's beating you in the face every
Right.
single second, hospital bed beeping. But when it comes to a phone call or a bad email, I think of it like this. And I came up with this saying: no matter what you ask for in life, you will be shown, if not proven, that you cannot have it. In other words, doors will slam. And it's how you respond to that mentally and emotionally determines if and when you get it.
Mm-hmm.
So if
Mm-hmm.
I vision myself having that promotion, that's like hitting a tennis ball.
Mm-hmm.
The next step in manifesting is a door slamming. Someone's gonna say no.
Right.
If it's a huge ask like $10 million, it's gonna slam immediately, like the lottery ticket. You read it, you lost. All right, next time.
Mm-hmm.
So depending on
Mm-hmm.
how big it is what it's gonna take. So when that door slams, guess what? That means the ball just got hit back to me. It's my turn. Game on. If the
Oh,
door
that's
didn't
good.
slam,
That's
I wouldn't
good.
be on my way to getting my goal. I need that door to
Mhm.
slam. So once it slammed, I'm happy it did. And people think I'm crazy because I hang up the phone
I
from a
love it.
rejection or read a bad email, and they're like, "Yo, how are you so happy about that?" And I'm like, "Game on, baby."
Yeah,
It's my
yeah.
turn to respond. It's my move. Am I going to take it like a little punk and run on Facebook and tell everybody how I hate life and this person treat me like this? Or am I going to say, nah, I refuse that. That's
That's
just not
good.
the way it's going to happen.
That's
And
good.
so things like that, in implementing that, structuring that into my
Mhm.
thought process,
Mhm.
which, takes a lot. Your brain
Mhm.
is a muscle. It has muscle memory. You have to reshape it with these
Mhm.
type of mentalities. But affirmations and all that are really good at doing that,
Y
sooner than later.
Yeah. Oh, man, I love that. I love that, and I'm gonna take that away with me because that is super powerful. Because I always talk about, I love, like, people think I'm crazy because I always say I love failure, right? And people are like, What the heck is wrong with you?" I'm like, failure is feedback. Okay,
Yeah.
because if I failed at something, I'm learning here. I'm learning, and next time ain't gonna be like that. That's not the result.
You're
So
getting closer to it.
yes, exactly. And I get excited actually, and people think I'm a little crazy, but I think, you know what, if I don't push myself, nobody else will. If I don't, try to look at that failure as something that I can overcome, nobody else is going to do that. I've been through a lot in my life, and so if I didn't have that kind of mentality, I'd be sitting here the victim, and I'm nobody's victim. So I always try to look at life like that. But I love the way you use the analogy of, hitting the ball back like that tennis ball. I love that. I'm going to take that with me. That's going with me. Thank you for that, Neo, because that's really strong and it's powerful and it's something that you can impact people's lives with, right? Because at the end of the day, that's why you do what you do. Otherwise, you'd be sitting at home. Why be out here, doing Instagram and going to do speeches
And
and
I'm
doing video
look,
reels,
I'm
right?
hustling. I'm
Right,
hustling because I'm working
right.
harder now than I was before. This
I
is
know that's
crazy
right.
with
Right,
schedules and posting. It's
right,
insane. But you know what?
right.
I want to give everybody another visual. This has been the one that sticks with me all day and every time I see the color green, whether it be grass or trees or whatever. I call it watering seeds.
Hmm.
Now, as humans, we have 60 to 70,000 thoughts, average per day per person. And I think of each one of them like a drop of water going into a different flower pot. Things I like about my spouse, things I don't like about my spouse,
Hmm.
my house, my kids, my job. I'm All day I'm watering different flower pots, and majority wins. The one with the most nourishment grows. Some are cute, some are pretty, some are ugly.
Right.
Some leave you wondering, how the heck did this get here? You've been watering that seed. You've been
Mm-hmm.
worrying about that all day, haven't you? And now that it's happened, you're wondering how. You've been
Mm-hmm.
watering that seed. And I love that analogy because it's like there's nothing there. You water it, and then out of nowhere, there's something sitting there staring at you. And it could be
Mm-hmm.
beautiful and smell amazing, or it could be a disaster.
Right. It could be that plant
So,
that eats you.
yeah.
That's good. No, that's a good one too, because I love gardening. It's cathartic for me to sit out there and watch how I plant something and watch it. I pull out the weeds, I prune it, I pull it back, I do everything I got to do, and that is life. Life is about planting that seed, watering it, to going with your analogy, but you also have to pull out what doesn't work, and you have to yank out the roots of
Mhm.
all those weeds that are trying to choke out what is for you, the blessing that is for you,
And
right?
change it. You
So
got to change how you move.
you got,
You
yes.
might have to go out there more often and water some seeds
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to other ones you could leave for longer. You're gonna have
Mm-hmm.
to adjust and learn how as you go. You could read books about it all day, but your soil is a little bit different than it is in Missouri, where the guy who wrote the book
That's
lives.
good.
So
That's
it's like
good.
it's a great
Mm-hmm.
analogy. Nature, go figure.
Mm-hmm.
Nature lines up
Right.
perfectly with the law of attraction again.
That's awesome. Neo, you are a treat, an absolute treat
Thank
to
you, thank
speak
you.
to. You really, really are. And I promised you 25, 30 minutes. I'm going to let you
I
go.
got time. Look, I got time. This is what I do.
Because I love what you bring into the table, and I love how you speak, and really I know that that is part of your secret as well. It's not all manifestation and all that. It's who you are innately too. You have a really good energy about you, and I can
Thank you.
tell that you are empathetic and care, right? And maybe that has a little bit to do with being a police officer too, because they do have that ability to show up when nobody else will show up. You know what I'm saying? They're the ones that you call. You're like, oh, me and my friends were cracking up, and they were talking about police officers. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna call a cop. I ain't calling no crackhead to come help me. I'm gonna call a cop to come help me. So, because I have a lot of friends who are police officers, I respect them and love them dearly, because I know that they put their life on the line when no one else will do it. And so I think that is already in you, right, Neo? So when you're bringing out all of this things that you're teaching us today about the law of attraction, I also know that the person behind it counts. And that's why I love that you came on. I love that you're sharing your wisdom with us. And I really, really do, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate you being here. Really do. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you for
Thank you.
having me, and
Yeah.
thank you for displaying this type of information to your audience. My
Yeah.
whole past 14 years has been gold and geared towards that, getting the law of
Right.
attraction into more minds. So thank you for being a soldier in the war on negativity. That's what I call people
Yes,
like
that's
us.
good. What? I'm loving everything you say. Where's my mic? I gotta drop a mic up in here. I love this. So
This
before I
brother
let
Pitt.
you go, yeah. Before I let you go, though, I do want my audience to know how to support you, reach you, work with you, all that great stuff, right? Because, like I said, I have a lot of CEO, a lot of corporate people, stuff like that. They may want to hire you to come on and help the team out and do something, right? So I want to know how they can really reach out to you, Neil, and really support what you're doing.
Neopositivity.com is the one-stop
Mhm.
shop for everything from booking a meeting to registering to come to the summit, registering to speak at the summit if you're into the law of attraction, or get your hands on some merch. You see, I always wearing this shirt. My wristband is a reminder. I got poker chips that I keep in my pocket. And I
Oh,
reach in my
cool.
pocket, I feel it. I'm like, what's that? Oh yeah, that's my poker chip. And I'll just say thank you 10 times. I could do an affirmation. So I got all these tokens and reminders keeping me on point. Otherwise, my brain would go rampant and, just do like the brain does. So you're going to
Yeah.
need these things. I got 50 alarms on my phone that go off
Right.
just once, and I
Right.
look at it, it says I love life or something. So make sure you guys stay on top of that. But yeah, anything you need to find is right on neopositivity.com.
Awesome sauce. Thank you so much for being here. I know my audience is eating this up. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate you. I really do. Thank you.
Thank you
You
for
gotta get
having
that
me.
book out too. Do you have a book? Got a book
It
yet?
is on the way. I just finished
All
writing a
right.
chapter.
Look at that. I already knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming, Neo. So
Just
guys,
finished the
thank you so
outline.
much. Say again.
I said, just finished the outline, which took forever because I kept learning new stuff that I wanted to make sure I incorporated.
Yes, and this is going to be a point of number 1, number 2, number 3,
Yeah.
right? Because you're going to learn for life. I mean, that's what you
Yep.
do. You learn for life. So
That's why it's going to be a volume 2 and 3.
there you go. There you go. Guys, thank you so much for spending this time with me and Neil. I know that you guys are in love with him as much as I am. Great energy, great guy. Going to teach you a lot of things. So make sure that you follow him. I'm going to link all of his information below because as you guys do, you guys support. You guys are always looking out. You guys are always DMing. I cannot believe that you guys got me at about 35,000 downloads for this month. You guys are the best. You guys are straight talkers. Thank you so much for being here. This is Neena Perez, Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. Until next time.